We're live. Yep. So we're pretty much streaming. We don't know if it's updated yet. It says 0. Oh, there we go.
But that's us. One viewer, and that's us.
Oh, this is 2 watching there. Well, who knows?
2 viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time we're doing this, so you gotta bear with us a little bit. 3 viewers. Okay, if you're there, maybe you can say hello in the chat. Oh, there's someone. Hi, Andreas. Good to have you here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty much. We have no experience. Oh, another one. I'm here.
Hey, Mirel.
Yeah, we don't really have much experience with live streaming.
No. But we can use this opportunity while we're waiting for maybe some more people to come in. We could just say that it's going to be recorded. Obviously, we're recording it now, and it's going to be available for everyone on YouTube to watch once we've got this session done. In a month, we're going to put it out on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube now, a month later, and you want to join for the next session, you can do that by going to patreon.com and finding our profile. It'll be in the description, and then you can sign up there and join the next session. So that out of the way, we can get started.
Well, we'll wait a couple more minutes.
Yeah, let people get in there. Yeah. So we can. How are you guys doing, Andreas and Mirel? You have a good? Have you had a good day, or is it probably in the morning for you guys?
We have had a pretty cool day. I had a friend over, which I haven't seen in a long time. It's nice to be in Norway again. Yeah, it's pretty epic. The sun is shining. And yeah.
Mirel says she's good. 12 p.m. in Mexico, that is.
Right.
Another person here, Rice Huntley. Hey, guys.
Reese.
Hey, man. Rice. It's midnight on Kupangan. Ah, you're on Kupangan.
Right on. Yeah, we've been there, as you might know.
Yeah. Wow, so you're up until midnight to watch our live stream. Right. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult to find the opportune moment for us because, 6 p.m. in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to find a good time for everyone, because it's, as you can all understand, time zones. Mm-hmm. We have to have it sometime we can do, and then trying to make it work for everyone. So the only place that wasn't really able to, I guess, have a good time was Australia.
Yeah, because they're left out.
Yeah, they're left out, but
they're always left out.
They're down under.
Yeah, can't do much about it.
No.
But yeah.
So how's the weather these days on Kupangan?
When we were there, it was pretty much sun all the time, except for I think a bout of rain for like a week.
Something like that.
And I was going crazy.
Matt's got the name right.
Reese.
Yeah. You might recognize my name from the group chats.
Only, I think, because there's a guy in a video game, Borderlands, Tales of the Borderlands, that I played, and the main guy there is called Reese. So that's why. Probably would have said Rice anyway.
Yeah. We'll hang out a little bit, just a few more minutes, just if someone else comes in, and then, well, I guess maybe we could just get started at 5 minutes, and then, if someone comes in later, then they can just join in wherever they get in. No one ever says my name right. Do I say it right though? Mirel? Is that? Mirel
Maya.
That's probably correct.
Yeah, it's difficult names. People don't really say my name either correctly. I mean, I always say Mads in the videos, but you don't say Mads in Norway. You say Mats.
And you don't say. I say Michael, but in Norwegian it's Mikkel. So it's a completely different tone.
Yeah.
Which is why, we all change our names a little bit, I guess, when we're speaking a different language. That's just how it is to make it flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get started.
Yes.
On today's topic,
which is a pretty big one.
Yeah. So the idea for today was that we were gonna basically talk about why people go raw, as in, why would you go raw? Why would you start eating a raw food diet in the first place, right? There's different reasons one may choose. People have different motivations for doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I know I came to the raw food diet based on my situation. You had your situation. Our mom, she had another situation altogether. Everyone has a different life situation, and they might be motivated by different things. So we thought we just want to discuss a little bit, talk a little bit about those things, and ask you guys for your ideas as well. What do you think? What were your motivations for going raw, and or including more raw food in your life? And what do you have any ideas of what other people might be motivated by?
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I guess if we're just going to ramble on, which I guess this is kind of like a strange monologue for us, because we only see you guys writing, which is cool. And then we just got to keep it flowing. So we'll just get started. If there's anything you guys want to say at any time, just as if it was a normal conversation, you can just intercept. You could just write something on the chat anytime, and then we'll try and see if we can catch it,
mm-hmm.
which should be fine since we're only 4 people, or 4 viewers, and then the 2 of us. So we're 6 people. Now it says 3 viewers.
It goes up and down.
Up and down. Okay.
Just a thing though, if for some reason it's lagging a lot, the video, or if the audio is unclear or something, do tell us, because we have no idea. We're just seeing ourselves on a picture there, and it looks very good. But things happen. So yeah.
Right. So I know that for me, when I first started getting into raw food, I guess I had a period beforehand where I was, slowly getting more and more into vegetarianism, veganism, health, ethics. There was many different factors that motivated me to go raw. But I think if I had to say like the main 2 things, it was, now I would actually say that ethics was the most important part for me going vegan, but then health was actually the main thing for me going actually raw vegan. Doesn't seem to be lagging much. That's good. Okay, so yeah, I was motivated by health a lot. I was reading about permaculture at this time. This is back in 2011. I was living in London, and I was reading about permaculture, and I was thinking about how, every animal has its place in nature, and every species of plant has its place, and there's interactions between everyone. And I felt like, where do the humans belong? What is the optimal way for a human to live, to be in balance with the environment?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started, thinking in terms of eating a raw food diet like all the other animals. Mirel says, vegan for the animals and fruitarian for my health. That's exactly the same for me, really.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, it's difficult to say. I know I'm motivated by a lot of the same things as you are, but you were always the one who were kind of at the front. Like you were...
the older brother seems to sometimes lead, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So you were always... I remember this situation where we were kind of getting into health more and more. And one day we were vegan, I think, and we were standing in front of the kitchen, and you were like, bread isn't so healthy either. And I was just like, oh no, now the bread's going out the window as well. Because I knew where it was leading. And of course, after not too long time, we were both really just inspired about just fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, slowly but surely we got into it. So, okay, without telling our whole story,
we're gonna make videos about that.
Yeah, we have made
someday.
a video about our story.
Yeah,
but we'll make more of them, I guess. So health is probably one of the biggest motivations people have for going raw. What about what about you guys? Mirel, you said vegan for the animals and fruitarian for my health. What about you, Andreas or Riz? What was your motivations for including more raw food in your diet or going all raw when you first got started? Just to say it about the dynamics of this kind of live session, we'll ask you questions like we did now, but then immediately we'll start talking about something else because, of course, we're not going to sit still and just be like, well, you're typing. So just so you know, it doesn't mean we moved on. We get into something new and then, oh, that's quick. Mirel says, I think that when you go vegan for ethical reasons and you start feeling so great, start reading more about health benefits of veganism, take it to the next level. That's definitely true. It's like a spiral. You get motivated by being motivated, and then the more you do it, the more motivated you get. Once you see results, that's when you start getting even further motivated. But here's another interesting, motivation, and that's sickness. Because I wasn't really sick. I mean, my health was not good, but I wasn't sick. I wasn't really like, well, I guess it all depends on how you look at it. I was sick in a way. Yeah. I had some serious issues, and they've got pretty much resolved now. But I wasn't downright sick, and you certainly wasn't feeling it.
I was feeling fairly fine.
Yeah. But some people are sick. They're actually like, they got cancer, or they have, super high blood pressure, or colitis. They have some kind of disease, and they're looking for answers. So that's a different route into the whole thing. Like we were just inspired about getting into health. We wanted to get healthier, mostly because we thought it was cool.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Dan the man, was totally inspiring us, standing outside his trailer and doing all the awesome stuff. So we were very inspired about just like fruit power. And we were biking out on our bikes,
drinking green juice.
Yeah, disgusting.
The Life Regenerator, he's so inspiring. So we were running on pure coolness. We thought he was cool, and we were just like, oh yeah, it's so cool. There was many levels to it, but someone else might not even, they don't care about ethics. They don't care about the coolness of eating raw food. They're just sick and they want to get better. So sickness is another entry, and our mom actually, she was kind of coming at it from that direction. She was actually, she was in a car accident a few years ago, many years ago, and she was on heavy medication, and she was, she was desperate to find something that would help her to get better. And I remember telling her at the same time as we were transitioning that, maybe you should try a raw food diet. It'll reduce the inflammation in your body because you reduce inflammatory foods that you're eating. She was pretty much eating frozen pizzas and Snickers ice cream, just like us. Well, we weren't eating that much crap at that point, but earlier we did.
Yeah.
And she said she was going to try it. She tried it, and it's helped her life tremendously.
Just stopped her medication.
She stopped her medication. Now she's off medication. So her motivation was sickness. And even to this day, when we talk with her about her motivations to keep staying healthy and stuff, one of the big things is simply she feels like she has to do this. Because if she doesn't, she'll have to get back on medication. And
I think a lot of people are in that situation where they either they continue eating healthy and feel good, or they go back to eating really bad stuff, which might make them feel absolutely terrible, which is true for everyone. I mean, if I were to eat only Doritos, I would feel absolutely terrible, and I wouldn't want to do that. I'm at the point now where I'm actually motivated to continue eating healthy, mainly because it's what makes me feel awesome.
Mhm.
It's also what tastes the best in almost all cases.
Yeah. Mirel says, as a girl, I could say that I was motivated in terms of health because I used to have really painful periods, and now nothing. Wow, yeah, that's a motivation there.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of people say that. I think, yeah, there's generally less inflammation and pain to deal with when you're eating healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And yeah, so sickness is a motivation. Can you guys come up with any other like entry points into being, raw vegan? Let's say you're not, health isn't the main thing. You're not sick. Are there any other ways of entry, if you know what I mean? Like, what could people be motivated by to get into a raw food diet?
I think ethics is a pretty big thing for a lot of people, even with the raw food diet, because pretty much there's nothing. How should I say this? Fruit is the most ethical thing to eat because it's really the only thing that the plant gives freely. It wants us to eat its fruit, to spread its seed.
Yeah, if you really take it all the way, to the ultimate level of what is ethical, there are some people call themselves ethical fruitarians. Most people probably know about Mango Woodsuck, which is the guy in Australia. He's in a documentary called Pure Fruit, and he's an ethical fruitarian, meaning he's eating strictly fruit based. Like he doesn't eat greens, he doesn't eat anything like that, and we don't eat much greens either. But I'll have some lettuce if I want to. It's not a big deal. But he's like on an ethical level. He doesn't want to kill anything. And if you don't want to kill anything, if you don't want to take any life on purpose, you gotta eat only fruit. Fruit is the only thing that's truly 100% ethical.
For sure. Mirel is talking about how it's the most sustainable, and for sure, it is really the most sustainable diet you could possibly eat on Earth.
Yeah, you're right. It is sustainable. It's the only thing that's sustainable, right? I mean, depends how you look at it, but in these days now, where the planet is, the resources are running out a little bit, and it's kind of on turmoil. The most sustainable food is definitely fruit. Yeah, that's good that you're talking a lot. I'm glad. Keep talking as much as you want. That's the point, We want to, as many of all of you guys. If doesn't seem that there's that many people here right now.
Keep fluctuating between 3 and 4.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
But keep talking. That's the point.
Yeah, and if you don't want to talk, that's totally fine as well.
That's fine as well.
We'll keep blabbering on probably for a while.
Yeah. So some people might be motivated from point of health. Other people have, sickness motivation, ethics, and here's another big one: weight loss, of course.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's like one of the biggest reasons why people get exposed to any diet, weight loss, because even the word diet, which strictly speaking means just the food you eat, diet, it's the word diet has been associated with weight loss. Like, I'm dieting. So when people want to lose weight, they go looking for a diet, something to eat, and that's a big motivation to go to the raw food diet, because it's just I don't think there's anything
in terms of weight management, if you will.
The fruit-based diet anyway, but not, of course, the raw food diet as such, because you could eat a raw food diet that would still be full of crappy food. I mean, high-fat, nutty, gourmet raw food diet, that's definitely not the best for weight loss, probably the worst. But the fruit-based diet is the best.
Yeah, your body naturally will regulate it based on the parameters of fruit. It's like fruit satiates you the most. And when you're hungry, you're hungry. And as long as you follow your hunger and eat until satisfaction, there shouldn't be any issues.
And that's the thing, fruit fills you up the most for the least amount of well, vegetables will fill you up the most for the least amount of calories, but they won't satisfy you. So fruit, almost if you could say calorie for calorie, fruit is the most satisfying. So if you want to lose weight and have to, limit your caloric intake somehow a little bit, well, then you want to be as satisfied as possible, because lack of satisfaction is basically what's going to lead you to eat more, right? So if you're satisfied, you're not going to eat more. So fruit satisfies. So that's one way of entry, weight loss. If you're wondering why we're looking down, because we made some notes, obviously. Pleasure. Have you any tips to gain weight? Andreas asks. Okay, I was going to say pleasure and I was going to talk about that, but I'll wait with that a little bit and I'll answer your question. Gain weight. Okay, well, first of all, you have to then let us know, would you like to gain, are you talking about gaining weight in general, or do you want to gain muscle weight, or do you want to gain fat weight, or do you want to gain both? Because that's very specific.
Yeah.
So let us know what kind of weight you want to gain.
We're both in interesting situations, really, and perhaps me the most. I'm very thin in terms of fat weight and in terms of muscle weight. I don't weigh much at all. And at the moment, I'm trying actually to overeat a little bit by basically I'm eating normally, but I'm trying to push the amount of total calories I'm ingesting for the whole day. So I'm eating more calories than I think I need. I calculate at the end of the day and think, okay, I'm used approximately that amount of calories, and I eat a lot of dates after dinner, actually. There may be better ways of doing it, but the point is really that eating more calories than you need will result in fat gain. In terms of muscle, I'm also trying to build muscle. So I'm doing muscle.
But I guess you're not really working that hard to gain muscle right now?
No, but I could.
Yeah, you could.
I could, but I am doing push-ups.
Yeah, which is definitely productive.
Yeah.
Andreas says he wants both, I guess. Well, yeah, that you're on to it. Keep going, I guess.
Yeah. In terms of muscle, there's only one way to gain muscle as well, and that's by pushing your muscle to the limit.
You might know the word. You want to look up the word hypertrophy or hypertrophy. I don't know how to pronounce it. Hypertrophy is how it's written. And that's essentially the act of breaking down the muscle to the point where it will be rebuilt, but bigger, right? If you are working to gain size, you want to, essentially, to be specific, you could look this up yourself, but just to give you a pointer, when you go to the gym, generally speaking, if you want to build size, you want to lift something like 10 to 16 reps. So that means when you get to the 12th rep, 12 is like the point where it's most commonly cited. Let's say you come to number 12, you can just barely do number 12 and then you're done. If it's too easy, then you got to put on more weight. If it's too hard, then you're going to take off weight. But if you end up at 12 reps approximately, that's the ideal spot on point for the weight, the resistance you want to use in order to build size. If you're down only can do like 5-6 reps, then you're really training more for strength rather than size. Okay, so basically, simply put, if you want to gain muscle, you got to go to the gym, like you just said. If you want to gain fat, you got to overeat.
You got to go to the pantry.
You got to go to the pantry.
Mirel is saying that basically weight loss and weight gain, we're all looking for quick fixes, and that's so true. It takes a while. If you want to lose weight, you got to go hungry a lot of the time for quite a long time. Even under eating 500 calories is quite a big feat, actually. You'll be pretty hungry.
Yeah, too much. That's probably too much for most people. You probably want to keep it at just 200 calories deficit or something like that.
And if you're under eating 500 calories a day, that's still just a kilo of fat in
2 weeks. So that's 2 kilos a month.
Essentially, if you're very overweight, that's going to take a while.
Yeah. So basically, you gotta overeat if you want to gain weight, and you gotta undereat.
It is not very comfortable, by the way.
No, that's the whole point. When you eat comfortable, the only thing that's comfortable is eating the right amount, and that's just naturally gauged. But once you're satisfied and you're good and you don't want any more, you gotta eat a little bit more if you want to gain weight. And if you want to lose weight, you gotta notice when you approach that point where you're perfectly satisfied, you gotta stop a little bit early, but just a little bit though, because if you undereat too much, you won't do it again, and it will just actually be negative for your body, and you mess up your hormones and stuff like that. Same thing with overeating. If you overeat way too much, then your triglycerides go up, and it's just not ideal.
Not healthy. Oh, and by the way, don't, I think, try to overeat with using overt fats. There's no benefit to eating fatty foods.
Well, the benefit is that it's much easier to overeat, but you increase your fat percentage, which is not
necessarily better. The point is, dates are higher in calories per 100 grams than avocado is. But if you're eating 2 avocados a day and going way above 10% of your total intake of calories from fat, that might have some negative effects on you. Which might not be a good thing.
So the point is to do it, but stay within healthy parameters. There's no need to increase your fat intake too much. You don't want to increase your caloric intake too much. You don't want to decrease your caloric intake too much. Just just do small changes and have a long-term plan. That's what it's all about. Other motivations could be pleasure, like I was going to say. People go raw. If they tried good fruit, they can go raw purely based on the fact that fruit is pleasurable to eat. In fact, it's the most pleasurable. It's the most pleasurable food to eat on the planet, in my opinion. Like when I got mangoes in Thailand, like right now here in Norway, it's not that much good fruit, to be honest. But when I'm in Thailand and I got those Nam Dok Mai mangoes or durian, I don't want to eat pizza. That would be less pleasurable than eating Nam Dok Mai mangoes. So going raw could be motivated also just purely by pleasure. Sports performance, there's benefits to eating fruit for sports performance. High in carbohydrates, high in water, minerals. These things are important for athletes. So
or even people working at desk jobs reporting clarity of mind, feeling good, and performing better in their work.
Basically, there's a tons of ways people might get into the raw food diet. There are many ways to get into it, and it changes over time too. Like when I first got started, I was inspired by Dan the Man, right? And I was drinking juice. I was making green juice, and I was totally into juicing. I'm not into juicing anymore. I'm still inspired by Dan the Man, but that's not why I'm eating raw. Now I'm eating it mainly because I'm seeking the pleasure of it, because I know it's pleasurable and I like the results. So it changes over time, basically.
Now, of course, there's a lot of challenges, of course.
Because that's the other topic we're getting into now, which is, we talked a little bit now about motivations, why people might go and get into raw food, but now we want to shift the discussion a little bit into potential challenges that people may have. So if you guys can come up with any challenges that maybe you had, or maybe challenges that you think come up when you go raw, and write it in the chat if you want. We'll talk a little bit about that, because of course challenges, they come up everywhere in life.
And there's a few when it comes to eating raw, especially perhaps in colder climates. I think the biggest one for a lot of people though is social. There's always small things. people will pretty much always question what you're doing. A lot of people are going to think you're weird and wrong in what you're doing, and you have to stand up for yourself. We've had some people think we're crazy. A lot of people think we're crazy still. But yeah.
It's basically the world is the way the world works. People, as you all know, I'm not lecturing you really, everyone knows that if there's one thing about the world, it is that everyone likes to fit in. And as long as you fit in with a group, then you start criticizing. A lot of people do this anyway. They start criticizing everyone that doesn't fit into the group. And if you're the outsider, then you don't criticize. You try and make yourself look like the others to fit into the group, right? Mm-hmm. So we all want to fit in, and therefore that's why people are pointing fingers at you when you do something different. It's kind of like a survival instinct, you know. You just if we didn't have this drive to fit in with the rest of society and other people, then we would be outsiders. Everyone would just do their own thing, and there would be like less chances of survival. Mm-hmm. Fitting in actually is a sign of survival. So people are gonna point at you, and they're gonna have ideas about you. Not only that, but they come along over time. You know, once they see that you're healthy and you're thriving, usually most people come, they start respecting you. Mm-hmm. But social issues are more than just people disrespecting you. It's also just fitting in. And I want to talk more about it, but just I want to see what's up in the chat first. Riz, not actually raw or vegan. That's totally okay. Everyone's welcome. Yeah, we're not.
We're very inclusive people.
Yeah, we're not exclusive at all. Though I am overall high carb, low fat. Well, you know, it's interesting. Ethics aside and whatever, in my ethics anyway. One of the pioneers of the plant-based high carb whole food diet is Nathan Pritkin, and he was not a doctor, but he was a researcher. And one of the things he said was his program actually wasn't entirely vegan. He still included some other foods. He said it was mostly to get compliance with people, because people would comply easier if they were allowed to have a little bit of what they were used to having. But yeah, you're more here for the lifestyle, the fruit, spiritual traveling stuff. That's cool. Like the vibe. Happy to be here for the conversation. That's cool, man. Yeah, no problem. We'll also probably do hangouts focused, especially. We'll definitely do that. Maybe we'll do it next time even. Mayhaps we'll do that, you know, hangout space around that. Lifestyle, traveling, that sort of thing. Mirelle says she never cared about people that never cared about your health are suddenly worried about you. Yeah, that's how it is. They're suddenly so worried, and they're sick themselves, but they're so worried. But then you got to remember, some of them are worried, you know, and even though their worry is like kind of like, oh, worried about my health, they don't, you know, and they don't know anything about it. That's sort of like that. But still, if they're truly worried, you got to look on the positive side and remember that they're worried. That's a good trait, the fact that they care about you. Then, of course, everyone else that worries might just pretend to worry, but really they're just criticizing you.
Yeah, there's a lot of that as well.
But let's talk a little bit about more social stuff.
For example, we can take this in, I mean, in a week or so, we're going to a party, kind of, and there's...
it's a family, let's just call it a family gathering. It's special occasion.
And there's a buffet. And in Norway, there's not much vegan food. There's going to be cheese, eggs, or meat in almost all of the dishes. And if we're lucky enough that there's some potatoes there, they're going to be drenched in oil and fried in the oven, which might not be the healthiest. And there's certainly not going to be any fruit there. And if there is fruit there...
So basically, it's a challenge because what are we going to do? It's a tricky social situation,
Mhm.
right? I mean, there won't be any food there. So how do we deal with that? Do we call ahead and ask them to prepare something for us? And then, you know, are they going to have it on the side for us? And that's a little bit embarrassing. Or are we going to bring our bananas and then just like...
Because honestly, I would like to eat bananas for lunch.
Yeah, but the point is, this is not at a home or anything. It's like at a kind of a restaurant conference center, and we'll be in this... Yeah, it'll be strange for us to kind of carry our bananas around, mingling, and then sit down. I don't know, like, without getting into all the details of that particular situation, the point is, it's tricky. How are you gonna deal with it?
You're gonna be the weird person.
That's how you solve the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna accept that you are the weird person.
Yeah, you're the weird guy that only eats bananas.
And no one's gonna understand that. That's another thing to realize, because we can talk about strategies as to how to deal with family and stuff, but really the bottom line is you'll figure out yourself how to deal with your family and how to deal with your friends. But if you can't accept the fact that you're going to be the weird person, you'll always struggle, because you are going to be the weird person and people are not going to understand. They're going to think you're anorexic because you're eating grapes for dinner. They're going to be like, what's wrong with that guy, right? But just, that's okay. That's okay. They can believe whatever they want to believe. Danny Lee, yeah, that's definitely hard with the family sometimes. But
especially,
you know,
when they're against you.
When they're against you, that's
thankfully,
the worst.
We've always been kind of strange. So people have always been like somewhat supportive of the fact that we're doing our own thing, kind of weird people. It's okay. But I can imagine a lot of people struggling with the fact that suddenly their whole family is like almost rejecting them because they're choosing healthier foods for themselves.
And if that happens, I think the best thing to do is, once again, accept that you know, in their eyes, you are strange, understand where they're coming from, but stick with it. Just bear with it a little bit, because after a little while, they're going to come around. They're going to respect you eventually. They have to get through the shock, you know, because you had the realization that, oh, this is good food, but they don't realize that yet. So allow them some time. When we first went raw and we lost a lot of weight, the first 6 months of our journey with raw foods, we lost, you know, quite a lot of weight. And our parents were worried. I remember one time they, you know, sort of talked to us in a calm manner. We're like, we're really worried about you. And we were like, oh, really? Well, you know. But then they saw we stabilized. We didn't lose weight infinitely. We just lost a bit of weight, and then we stabilized, and we've been stable ever since, if anything, fluctuating a little bit and going upwards, really. So the point is, no wonder they were shocked in the beginning. It was a big transition, and then they get used to it. And now our mom is mostly raw vegan. Our dad is like plant-based, let's say, like he's eating mostly vegan food. So that's good.
Saying that a very good tip. She oftentimes eats at home before going out and then have a salad at the restaurant. And that's something we've done as well. You know, eat whatever you want to eat before you go out, and then have a small salad as kind of like a, I guess it's like a show, showing that you're taking part in the eating, and you know. Yeah,
because that's an important thing to remember. I think that we got to realize that, you know, eating is a symbolic act, almost. It's a cultural act. It's a ceremony. So sharing and sitting together and eating, if you're sitting there with nothing, it creates an imbalance at the table. Just like if everyone's walking around with a drink, like they do sometimes, you know, when we first get to a party, everyone has a drink. If you don't have a drink, it makes other people uncomfortable. And truth is, it makes you a little bit uncomfortable too, right? I mean, I know I'm a little bit, not much, but a little bit uncomfortable if I don't have a drink and everyone else has a drink. So what I'll do is I'll say yes to a drink. Maybe I'll just have some water, right? I'll go around with the same glass as everyone else, but it'll just have water in it. And just having the glass there, it makes a difference. Or if I come home to someone and they're serving something, even though I don't drink tea, I might say, yeah, okay, I'll have a cup of tea. like some herbal tea or something. You might not even drink much of it, just sip it a little bit. It's just a symbolic act. It's an act of unity, like we're together. I accept your offering. It's that kind of thing, and that's important. So what was my point? Yeah, the salad, right?
Yeah.
The salad is a good way to do it. You eat until mostly satisfied at home, and then you just have a salad there. But then again, that comes the second problem, which is then they call you anorexic, right? Or they think you're anorexic because everyone else is eating a huge dinner, 1,000 calories, and there you are eating a little salad. And it doesn't help that you tell them, no, I had 12 bananas before I came here.
Then they're just like, what? 12 bananas? You're crazy.
Too much sugar.
And then they're focused on that.
So it's going to be resistance anyway. But let's move on, because we can have a whole talk about just social issues going raw another month. But today we just wanted to touch on it. Danny Lee, great thing your mom was open to it. Yeah, it was a good thing she was open to it. She was skeptical though, but she was open to it, and she tried it, and the results, they come almost immediately. Anyone who's willing to really give it a try, they'll see the results quite quickly, and that's important. What do you do when you go out with friends? Are they wondering why you drink water? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, not really. I mean, most people are quite respectful when it comes to not drinking alcohol and that sort of thing.
Personally, I've never even touched. Well, I had one cider, apple cider once, but
in your life.
Yeah, but I've never drank alcohol. So I think most people I know that I'm not drinking alcohol. But no, I think water is pretty normal, actually.
Plus, people are less personal or less touchy when it comes to drinking than eating.
Yeah.
If you don't want to drink what they have, that's cool. But if you don't want to eat what they're eating, now that's another thing altogether, and start complaining and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess just to sum it up, social stuff, you got to accept that you're weird. You got to be just calm, just do your own thing, and don't worry about what people think. That's the best advice I could give. Other challenges when going raw is, of course, one of the biggest challenges I think most people are having. And once again, remember, if you guys have any ideas of any challenges people could have when they go raw, just write it in the chat. And it doesn't matter if you're interrupting us in some other train of thought. But one of the important ways I think people struggle when they go raw, we did as well, is simply getting enough calories.
Yeah.
Calories, it's as simple as this. We eat based on culture and tradition and what we're used to and what we've been doing our whole life, right? And then we go raw. And the only thing we change is the foods we eat. So our plate still looks the same size, but we just put grapes on it instead of oats, or we just put a mango in our hands instead of a hamburger. But of course, the mango only has 150 calories, while the hamburger has 600 calories. So when we shift the raw food diet, but we talk about this in the videos a lot, so I'm sure all you guys know this. It's very easy to end up under eating.
And we did, certainly.
Yeah, that's why we lost the weight, which was perfect, right? Because we needed to lose that weight. It was excess fat. It was a good thing that we didn't know. In the beginning, it's okay. You have a few months where you could lose the weight and you don't know about it even. But then you got to get the calories in, because if you don't, you won't be able to sustain the diet. And that leads to a whole host of problems, not to speak of deficiencies and that sort of thing. So people struggle with getting enough calories.
And I think a lot of people actually fail, if you could call it failing. I remember, I think Durian Ryder once said that people are saying that they're doing the raw diet, but they're not eating enough. And it's like going for a bike ride and saying, I tried biking, but I didn't use my hands on the steering handlebar. Yeah,
you can't ride a bike without holding handlebar. Well, you can, but it's going to be risky, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to fall sooner or later. The same thing is true with you're not eating enough calories, and that's just almost everyone's struggling with that. But I think that's the point we've been pretty clear about in the video, so I'm sure we don't need to talk a lot about that. But fruit quality on Kupangan, you're struggling with it. Well,
Thailand has a lot of fruit, but a lot of the time it can be really, really low quality.
yeah.
And
It changes. When we were there for 2 months, we had a period where the fruit quality was some of the best we've ever had in our life.
Yeah.
And just a couple of weeks later, it was some of the worst we've had in our
The
life.
same stalls having mangoes that are absolute shit.
Yeah. So give him some, because Mats was the one doing all the shopping. I was at the house most of the time.
Yeah.
Give him some pointers as to exactly where to go, maybe.
Well, first off, you could check out the video I made. My shopping trip.
Vlog.
It's fairly recent video. But in terms of getting fruit quality, you need to go to what's the town?
Tongsala.
Tongsala. And just go to all of the different stalls. I don't know how it is there now. Maybe there's nothing. I mean, there was a period where there was no mangoes pretty much at all. I mean, they were there, but they were bad.
But the main areas is really Tongsala, and then there's some fruit stalls up in Sritanu as well on the west.
Yeah,
coast.
And towards Big C and Macro from Tongsala, there's a good fruit stall which had very good and cheap papayas.
Yeah, you gotta be all over the place, and it changes from day to day. Go for whatever looks the best, smells the best, feels the best, and ultimately tastes the best. Danny Lee also, she wants us to talk a little bit about mental challenges, doubting the lifestyle. I remember in the beginning when I first started eating this way, I was convinced. I was very convinced about the benefits of eating raw and stuff, but I wasn't as educated maybe as I am now, and I wasn't as experienced either. So I was like right now, I'm very confident. Because it's working so well. It's been doing it for 5 years. I have the knowledge more educated, so I doubt it only a little bit. It's good to always doubt a little bit, right? Play devil's advocate sometimes. Sometimes we play this game where we're like arguing against the raw food diet, and there are some arguments, right? That's a good thing. But most of the time, mostly I'm very confident about it. And but there was a time in the beginning where I wasn't. I remember asking myself, oh, is this safe? And being a little bit worried, and is it too extreme and that sort of thing?
I think what we have to do is just argument back and forth in our own mind as well. The reason I'm so confident in my choices is basically because I see no contraindications to this lifestyle. There's just nothing.
Yeah, no, I don't. And like to Danny, my best advice would be 2 things. And I think I've been talking about this a bit in the last few videos as well. But first of all, take a huge step back. Like, what are you missing? If you're eating only fruit and vegetables, I don't know exactly how your diet is, but what is it that's extreme about it? If, like, for example, let's say, oh, if I just had some bread in the diet, it would be a more normal diet, right? For example. Well, what is it about bread that's making your diet more safe? And then if you look at the nutritional profile of bread, you'll see that there's nothing in bread that you're not getting from fruit. And there are things in bread that you probably, shouldn't get. So again, you're safer with the fruit. It's just that you're more used to the bread. The bread is more safe. It's more common, something you're used to from the past.
People don't say it's weird.
People don't say it's weird. People don't say it's extreme. If someone said, oh, I've been living on bread for the last 6 months, most people would probably be like, oh yeah, that works. That's pretty unhealthy, but okay, that works. But if you say you live on fruit, people go crazy. But nutritionally speaking, if you really just take a step back, it's safe. It's all there. There's nothing radical about it. And if you're the only thing that could be extreme, we say vitamin B in bread, but there's vitamin B. Every single fruit has all the vitamin B, all the different vitamin Bs in it, except vitamin B12. which is a different issue altogether. But all the nutrients, literally all the nutrients, are in fruit. Like one of the best resources I could give you is chronometer.com. C-R-O-N, I'm bad at spelling, chronometer.com. Because you just put in all the fruit and then you see all the nutrients in it and you go like, oh my God, it's all there. There's nothing really missing, nothing missing. So I would just get educated. That's my best advice. Just actually look at the nutrition of what you're eating and confirm for yourself whether or not it's adequate. Mm-hmm. And trust nature in the sense, trust that we evolved for millions of years eating something, and it sure as hell wasn't bread. It was fruit. It was fruit. And then we started cooking something when we couldn't find enough fruit, but that was the substitute. So the cooked food, the cooked roots, and even the meat, it was the substitute for the fruit. There's no animal product, there's no nutrient in meat that you can't find in fruit either, except for B12 and vitamin D, which are different nutrients altogether. Shouldn't be coming from the diet. Vitamin D should be coming from the sun. Vitamin B12 is from bacteria in our environment. And if you're not living a natural life in your environment, you might want to supplement, but that's another topic.
I want to kind of talk a little bit more about food quality, actually.
Yeah, Mirelle says the challenge could be affording all the fruit.
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you are.
Mangoes today, I looked at some Pakistani mangoes. The season is beginning now, and they're 79 Norwegian kroners per kilo, which is something like $10 US dollars per kilo. And I can't really do that. I can't. But of course, if I wanted to, I could. I could make that choice. It's all about priorities. If you want something, you can do it. But I'm not making that priority right now. So at the moment, I'm actually eating mostly bananas, and then for dinner, I'm having cooked sweet potatoes mostly. And that's a compromise, but it's my choice at this moment based on economics, but also based on the fact that there's no fruit that's good. Even the mangoes, I tried one today. It was really good.
Yeah, the bananas are okay. I mean, they're the worst quality bananas in the world, but they deliver. Other than that, there's dates, but you all know how dates are. You can't really eat meals of dates.
Yeah.
And then you have oranges, which are like sour and not really that good. Grapes, which aren't dense enough in calories. At least these aren't. It's difficult.
But in terms of pricing, I kind of find the fact that fruit is sometimes expensive, sometimes it's cheap. It averages out, I guess, but I personally don't use that as an argument for myself, because I just know if I want health, I gotta have the best food, and I'm gonna buy it. I wouldn't.
If the other food didn't.
Well, I was gonna say if there was no cheap fruit, if all the fruit was expensive, I would have to still buy it, because I want health. Whatever the cost, I want it. So yeah, I was
just gonna say that if the other food, if there was only fruit and the fruit was still expensive, we would all do what we had to do to get that food, which would be the fruit. So just because there's some foods that are cheaper than fruit, doesn't mean that you have to choose the fruit. You can always get what you want if you really want it.
You want to just say something?
No, that was also.
No, I stopped you from.
And this was what that was. What
no, that was before I even said the. Before I said like you want to start a new topic or something like that.
Just about fruit quality in general. Yeah. I wanted to talk about Norway.
Okay, yeah, because fruit quality is also a challenge to find enough fruit quality. It's most of the fruit in the world is crap.
Yes. Really, though, most is. When you go to the market, there's not much good.
But
you
everyone
have to be really good at picking.
And everyone knows this, of course, so there's no need to drive that point home. No. But how do we deal with it? what's the solution to? Well, the solution I think is that there is fruit out there.
Yeah.
It's out there. The good quality is out there somewhere. You just got to look for it. I mean, not always. Like here in Norway right now, no matter how much you look for it, I know that when I go out there, the only thing I can hope to find is bananas of mediocre quality, but they will deliver. I might find some okay grapes, and I might find, no, that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, I think.
Even though avocados are terrible, except one brand maybe sometimes.
Yeah. But you can't live on avocados, right?
Yeah.
And you can't live on dates. And I can't have 3 meals a day of bananas. So you got to be flexible. That's probably one of the main tips I could give regarding living healthy and eating a fruit-based diet, is to be flexible. Mm-hmm. In the sense that don't push your limits in terms of what you can enjoy and what you can't enjoy. We've had times where we've eaten nothing but dates for 3 days. We did that once. Mm-hmm. Nothing but dates, breakfast, lunch, and dinner dates, because we wanted to stay raw. But ultimately, that was just terrible.
Yeah, and arguably, it might not even be healthier than including some steamed vegetables.
So ultimately, you got to be flexible a little bit to deal with circumstances and adjust depending on the circumstances, basically. Mm-hmm. Can you guys think of any other challenges? Did you have any, like, okay, Danny, you said you had the challenges with in terms of how you think about it and doubt the fruit-based diet. Any of you have any other ideas about what potential challenges could be presented to us when we eat a raw food diet, or maybe something you struggle with? Or Danny, if you have anything else that you've thought about, that's cool as well. In the meantime, I'll say that addictions is obviously a big thing. I mean, we're addicted to certain foods, mm-hmm. and we're used to eating a certain way, and we're sort of addicted to it, and that's a big challenge in the beginning. But I think the main thing to know about addictions is that there's really just 2 things. One is avoid being exposed to that addiction, and 2 is staying physiologically satisfied. If you've had enough calories from fruit and you're satisfied physiologically speaking, so you're not actually hungry, and then at the same time you avoid being exposed to that food or thing that you're addicted to, it shouldn't be a problem at all anymore, really. And if you're feeling an issue with it, chances are you might not have eaten enough calories. It's just that simple, because you might just be hungry. But I mean, that's a simplification, of course, but teeth. Teeth. We had some issues with our teeth when we first started.
Mm-hmm. But that was very likely just that it kind of coincided with us going raw. But I think it had mainly with the fact that we changed our brushing routine big time. Because at the same time as we were going raw, we were also kind of talking a lot about why do we need to brush our teeth? We shouldn't need to brush our teeth. No animals do this. It feels wrong, etc. So we stopped using toothpaste. We stopped brushing our teeth unless we
changed our brushing routine basically, and it was we didn't pay much attention to it. We went for long periods without brushing at all, mm-hmm. And I have to say I still find this an interesting thing, a dilemma. Like, why do we have to brush our teeth? Like, all animals, they don't brush their teeth, or maybe they do actually, because some do. Mm-hmm. That's another discussion. Teeth health, I would just wanted to give some practical advice, I think, and that's what we're doing now, and it seems to be working. Mm-hmm. First tip would be, don't eat acid fruit. Don't eat, like, when I say acid fruit, I mean unripe fruit.
Or if it's like, in your mouth.
Like, I ate oranges on Kupangan, and they were not sour, and they were super sweet. That's how it should be. If oranges are sour, they're not ripe, and you shouldn't be eating them, because the acid will erode your enamel actually.
And also create an environment for bacteria in your mouth to proliferate faster, and you don't want it.
So avoid acid, unripe fruit. Second thing would be to probably focus on meals rather than grazing, and rinse your mouth with water after you've eaten your meal. Don't brush your teeth after the meal, because after a meal you have a little bit lower pH in the mouth, and it's easier to, again, erode the enamel if you brush your teeth. And in terms of actual hygiene, I would just say once or twice a day. I do once, you do twice. Twice is probably better. Brush your teeth with a brush gently, focused, intelligently, cover all areas.
And floss.
And floss.
That's the safest. But you might be a person who don't need to floss because your toothbrush covers all areas anyway. Maybe you have bigger gaps between your teeth, etc. But yeah.
Basically keep your teeth clean, but not only just like clean from food, but actually there's a buildup of plaque, and you got to remove that plaque every day. That's why we're brushing. We're not brushing to remove food from the teeth. We're brushing to remove the plaque. So you just keep them clean and don't eat unripe fruit. That's my best tips. But again, this is a good topic to talk about for maybe another month. We can do a whole hangout just focused on dental health. That's also possible. So I think we should wrap it up, because 1 hour is a good time, and I'm feeling a little bit, my voice is a bit let's sum it up though. Raw food diet, motivations. There's all kinds of motivations. People go on a raw food diet for plenty of reasons, but I guess health, ethics, environment, coolness, pleasure, sickness. Some people are sick, they go to the raw food diet to get healthy. These are the main reasons. And challenges come up, of course, when you're going raw, like any diet or anything you do in life. There's always challenges, and there's plenty of challenges. We made a lot of notes, but we didn't get through all of them, and we can't get through everything every time, obviously. But the biggest challenges people have is probably social issues and eating enough calories. And both of those are pretty simple to solve. You just make sure you eat enough calories, and then you recognize that you are strange in other people's eyes, and just be okay with being a little bit different, and just stand your ground. You are doing what you're doing because you believe in it, so just keep doing that and show people by example. And don't worry, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to every time prove to them that what you're doing is correct. The more you try to prove it, the more you look like you're not confident about it, and the more they don't listen anyway. Well, I'm generalizing a lot, but don't work so hard. Don't try so hard. Just relax and kind of do your own thing. Quickly, just do you use glycerin toothpaste or raw calcium for next time? Yeah, I agree. We'll
get into it.
We'll talk about it another time. But yeah, raw food is absolutely epic.
Don't worry, you're not crazy.
You're not crazy.
Unless we all are, which I doubt.
Maybe we're all crazy eating raw food, and we're just doing our own little thing in a club. Well, it doesn't matter. If we're all crazy, then
it sure feels good.
Yeah, that sure feels good. All right, I'm very glad you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your time too, for hanging out with us. Thanks for being a supporter on Patreon. This is such a cool thing.
Very nice. It's very epic. It seems like we got up to five viewers today.
Yeah.
Next month it might be more. As we said, we're going to put this video on YouTube in a month. So
everyone on YouTube will see what we've been talking about and stuff, and that might inspire them to go join us on Patreon. But we want to keep this, I guess the word is exclusive. We want to keep it exclusive for those who really want to, right? And they can go on Patreon and join us in here, because that way we can have a more personal conversation like we're doing with you now. And yeah, smaller community than YouTube, which makes it easier to communicate.
Yeah.
because YouTube, there's just too many to really keep up with all the questions and everything. All right. Once again, thank you for joining us here today. This is really cool. I liked it.
I liked it.
It's a little
intimidating at first.
It was a bit intimidating. Yeah, we were a little bit nervous right before we started, but
which is funny because we always talk to cameras. But yeah,
something about being live that makes it even more like intimidating.
Yeah,
and it's also pretty intense. Like I noticed now, I'm like pretty hot.
Yeah,
and pretty.
At least you.
Yeah, because I'm like talking a bit loud and that sort of thing. Okay. Have an awesome day, night, Andreas. You better go to bed now. It's getting late. And
eat your fruit.
Eat your fruit. Stay raw. Remember why you're doing it, because that's the best motivation of all. Once you got started, remember why you got started in the first place, and that'll keep you motivated for the future. See you next time, lads. Yep. See you too, man. And yeah. I can't really say anything more. I just repeat myself over and over again.
Thanks for watching. Stopping broadcast now.